The Essential Education Projector range from Hitachi sponsors ICT programs.
Coming up in this programme, we focus on a masterclass about how to get full value from a digital microscope. We look at how one Year 3 teacher is using a digital camera to make sense of fractions. And we have top tips for the classroom.
Always carry a digital camera with you. It's really useful for taking photographs of children who are doing good work, taking photographs of their work so that you've got that. It's easier than photocopying. There's lots of uses for it. Carry a digital camera and you'll find you use it every day.
Hello and welcome to ICT SOS. Do you have a digital microscope in your classroom? And if so, is it gathering dust in the back of a classroom cupboard? Well, we came across one teacher who wanted to find out how she could get more out of this really useful piece of equipment.
In Year 5 we're looking at life cycles at the moment, and I'd really like to incorporate some ICT in the science lesson, and we have a bit of equipment, this microscope. I'd really like to be able to use it with the class so that they can see the images that we're going to be looking at in greater detail, but I'm not too sure about how to actually use it and what it can do. So if someone can give me a bit of help, I'd really appreciate it.
And here to help Avril is ICT teacher advisor Ophelia Vanderpuve.
The digital microscope is a great piece of kit. It allows children to take snapshots of specimens. It allows you to use it as an ordinary microscope with different magnifications, and it also allows you to do time-lapse photography. One of the things that you might want to go through at the beginning of the lesson is talking to the children about the microscope and the parts of the microscope, particularly looking at the magnification, 60 times, 200 times, and so on. But also on the software, what's really nice is that you can actually take time-lapse photography with the software.
So I could do it throughout the whole day?
You could do it throughout the whole day.
Wonderful. Or
24 hours or 48 hours.
Excellent.
You know, whatever you choose. I'm just going to put something under the microscope for you to have a look at so that it kind of makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
2p. I am going to just adjust it to the lowest setting, which is 10 times magnification. This is the software interface. Basically, it helps you to control, makes funny noises as you mouse over the various bits
like
and
that.
pieces.
The children like that.
This icon is for the top light, so you can actually arrange it so that the light is on top of your subject.
Is that the light that's showing at the moment?
That's the light that's showing at the moment.
Okay.
There are different makes of microscope on the market, but they all do pretty much the same thing. You can capture snapshots at regular intervals, which can then be run together to make a time-lapse film. For the life cycles topic, Avril is hoping to follow the germination of cress seeds. But will there be time for the seeds to germinate overnight?
You would expect to see some growth within 12 hours. So if we set up later on this afternoon the experiment and leave it overnight, then tomorrow we can actually come back and have a look and see whether anything has
I'll have
happened.
something by then?
You should do.
Okay.
You should do. I would start off by looking at the microscope, getting to, like you said, getting the children to explore it first of all. When you've done that, perhaps you might bring something up on the interactive whiteboard and show them the microscope, and then go through a little bit of labelling of the microscope, which they can actually do afterwards as well as a handout.
So how will Avril get on? She starts the first of the 2 lessons by talking the class through the digital microscope's capabilities.
So this is our microscope, and it's got a lot of features on that I found out about, so I'm going to be telling you all about those features. A button right at the top, this one here is in blue. It's a really
Introducing the idea of snapshots and time-lapse, she then adopts Ophelia's technique of using the 2-pence piece to demonstrate magnification.
That is actually, it's just been magnified 10 times. We're going to set up our cress seeds now. So we're going to use a Petri dish. Okay, you see these in CSI all the time. Yeah.
The idea is for the cress seeds to germinate on the moist cotton wool.
Let's first of all have a look at these seeds under the microscope. Okay, that's been magnified 60 times, so it looks much bigger.
The class will be able to explore life cycles by tracking the stages of growth as the seeds germinate.
But also we want to think about how long do we want to leave in between our snapshots.
How long do you think it will be, Krishna?
2 days. If you leave it for like a minute or two, it'll look really blurry.
I think that more than 1 day is too long, but 1 day is just about right.
The class decides to set the microscope to take an image every 30 minutes.
About 2 weeks.
Avril ends the first lesson by asking the children to label diagrams of the microscope.
So what we're going to do is have a quick look at what we've seen, what's been happening. And if you can remember, it's taken lots of different pictures every half an hour, and then it's going to play that, so it will speed up. It will look as though the plant's growing much faster than it is. Let's go to our show. Right there, yes, exactly right there. Okay, can you see the movement?
It works! The time-lapse film does show the cress seeds germinating. And it certainly gets this group talking.
I think it took 12 hours for the roots to germinate.
Because it starts to change after 8 hours, and in 1 day the roots started to come out. How long do you think it took? I think 14, 15, maybe 17.
So it has lots of capabilities. Remember, we can look at things more clearly, okay, using the different magnification and using the focus. We can use the time-lapse program, and also we can look at putting our pictures into a presentation.
So, what did Avril and Ophelia think about the lessons?
I thought the very beginning part of the first lesson worked really well. I liked the way she'd used a physical microscope to actually describe and to explain to the children exactly what they were doing, and having the physical microscope actually helped them to focus on exactly what they were going to do.
If I was to do the lesson again, I'd allow the children to actually physically hold the microscope and just play around with the magnification, because it's quite sturdy, so they can actually hold it and just pass it around and see in a bit more detail.
You can find out more about digital microscopes or any of the other things that you've seen on the programme by visiting the Teachers TV website.
My top tip is, children are sometimes really good at computers, so why not use them to help you?
My top tip is, always save your files using an obvious name so that you and others can find it later. And, above all, back up your precious files on something like an external hard drive.
My top tip is to make sure that appropriate web pages are linked to my curriculum folders.
And finally today, fractions. A tricky subject to learn and sometimes a tricky subject to teach. So how can ICT help? Well, we've been to a school in Harrow where a Year 3 teacher has been using a digital camera and her own classroom as a source to really bring the subject alive.
You ready? Okay. Double one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. Yes.
Okay, double 5. Ready?
I've got a Year 3 class and we're learning about fractions. To do this, I'm using digital photographs for showing real-life situations, such as windows, doors, cupboards, shelves, and recorders, and the children's photographs. By using the real things, what I hope is that the children will realise that maths is all around them, and I'm trying to bring their outside environment into the classroom, and their learning in the classroom back into their outside environment.
Now this is the window, Year 1's window. What fraction of the window has somebody's face in? What fraction of that window has someone? So there are 2 parts, and out of the 2, only 1 has a face. Okay, let's try another one. How many recorders have we got all together, Eric? 3 recorders, right? We've got 3 recorders. How many of those recorders are red? How many of those are red? Well done. Let's see, Aisha. Good boy, that's it. Well done. So, can you tell me, Nitharsan, how do we say this?
It's such a simple idea. But what's so good about it is that it uses images the children are already familiar with.
In the past, I've taught fractions without using ICT, where we've used paper, cut up pencils, done the usual cutting objects into halves and quarters. It's difficult for the children to learn visually because you've got lots of bits of paper. But when you've got things on the interactive whiteboard, immediately the children are able to see it clearly and it's accessible to all the children.
Well, we're going to give 1 set to Wissam and 1 set...
Nina now moves on and gets the children working on the whiteboard.
Wissam, what do you want, bananas or apples?
She's using digital photos of the children themselves. It's a fascinating motivational tool.
Children will come up and they'll sort the objects into 2 sets, and 1 set that they want near their face and the other set will be to the other side. I've used the children's images partly because I want to get their focus. So as soon as they see their pictures, they'll be focused and they'll be wanting to know what we're going to do with these activities. It's making it interactive.
Right? So what fraction of the fruit are apples? What fraction of the fruit are apples?
1/2.
Well done. 1/2 are apples. Okay, we'll try another one. Okay.
It provides a good way of modelling and demonstrating, but it doesn't need to be used in everything because the children also need to use hands-on practical experience.
The practical experience in this lesson comes in 2 forms. The middle and top sets use objects such as toys and money to do extension work, while the others reinforce their learning on laptops with a fraction software package.
And especially when they're learning maths, this is the first stage of their learning, having that practical, real experience, which is what the lesson will then move on to.
Okay. Now, how many did you have all together?
20. Now you have to count.
And how many, well, you can choose whichever set. A set of 2p coins or a set of 10p coins. You can choose.
10p.
Having taught fractions both with and without ICT, I can definitely say that actually teaching it with ICT is much more beneficial for me because it makes my job easier. Especially with preparation and things like that. It's much easier. And for the children, they definitely learn better using things like the interactive whiteboard. They're more excited about it. Children are definitely more visual learners. They're much more focused. Seeing their photographs up there makes them more excited about the lesson. So using the ICT has lots of benefits as long as it's used for specific purposes and not just for the sake of it.
Well, that's about it for this programme. But before we go, here's a top tip from me. I always set the screensaver on my computer to at least 60 minutes, otherwise it keeps interrupting the flow of the lesson. Don't forget you can find out information about anything you've seen in this programme by visiting the Teachers TV website. And I'll see you next time.
Essential education projectors from Hitachi sponsor ICT programs.